Welcome back to another episode of Scryer's Room. I am your host, Fanfare.
I'm Kevin.
I'm Mario.
And we're going to start off by giving a shout out to our sponsor, Dubby. They are a sugar-free energy drink station in California, and they're leading the fight against big oil, so go check them out. You can actually use promo code FANFARE for 10% off your order. And with that being said, we're going to talk about the note-taking application Obsidian.
So, I have just recently gotten off of like 15 to 20,000 word bender of writing that took place over the course of like 3 days. Because we're playing D&D, we're nerds like that, and I've put a bunch of lore into our into the setting and campaign, and frankly, it had a lot of moving parts. There's between 3 and many other time travelers. There's at least 2 gods who have been working together for hundreds of years to scheme.
One of them is literally named BBEG, if you break it down his name. It's pretty clever. It took us forever to figure it out, but it's pretty clever.
You would have figured it out real fast if you'd seen it
if we'd
written down.
seen it, yeah, true.
Yeah. I really took advantage of the fact that we were talking.
But hey, that's medium, man.
But, so I needed to actually, get those thoughts in order because you guys are entering what is basically going to be, the big climax arc of the campaign now. You guys are almost there.
Okay.
And so I wanted to make up a whole thing, refresh everybody's memories, because we've been playing for 2 years.
Yeah, it's been a minute.
Refresh everybody's memories. So I wrote a timeline and of things that your characters knew about, and then a timeline of things that they had just learned about, as well as some of the story from different characters' perspectives, so that you can get into what those characters actually went through. And frankly, I was driving myself insane doing that, trying to do it on Notepad. Because pretty uniformly, my method of writing is, you have a rough draft, you do that on Notepad so that you know that that's not what someone's supposed to read. You use the proper programs for when someone's supposed to read it. You see, that way you can do formatting and stuff. Everything else goes to Notepad. Well, it was driving me fucking insane.
Yeah.
And a while ago, our friend Brody informed Fanfare, Tony here.
A fellow dungeon master.
Yeah, he informed him of Obsidian. And I think he was also using it for D&D.
Yeah, he was using it for Obsidian. He was using it for D&D.
And he told Tony about it, and Tony has been using that for his own personal writing stuff, and he told me about it. And frankly, the ability to link between different things and put everything in folders in a certain order it made all of it possible. Even.
Yes, if any of you wizards out there listening are also game masters, dungeon masters, or anything in between, and were aspiring to do so, I highly recommend getting the free version of Obsidian, because you can basically make a thought web of your setting by connecting notes to notes. Imagine if you had Notepad that actually had word formatting options and stuff, and advanced organizational tools, and then you can make your own wiki with it. So you can literally make a keyword and then have that keyword be referenced by other notes. So for example, I've been working on my own D&D setting for a while. So one of the notable families in my setting are the Bournevilles. And so I have set that up as a keyword so that anytime I mention one of those characters, their first name will be its own keyword referencing to that page, and the last name will reference to the entire family. And so it's just really cool that I can literally within my own work click a thing and it's I have my own wiki.
And frankly, it was a godsend because I'm writing this up, and I unfortunately, like many of us, you get so in the weeds of your own setting that you make up concepts that reference other concepts that you made up that aren't in the D&D rule book or anything that these people have heard of before. That's just your special version of it. But with something like Obsidian, you make that into a keyword. They hover their mouse over that. Bam! They get to read the definition right there. And they can click on that, lead to other things. It's great. But one of my favorite things about it is that word cloud thing you mentioned.
Yeah, dude.
It's called Graph View if you're using the actual program. But when you have everything sorted, that all the keywords link to each other and everything's in the order you want, you can go to Graph View and you can see how they all connect.
It's like neurons connecting in the brain.
It's beautiful.
Like if you ever go to the Reddit subreddit Data is Beautiful, Like I think that buzzword every time I see the graph view.
Yeah.
It's so cool looking, and it makes you feel like you're doing the beautiful, not beautiful mind. What's
it's Beautiful Mind you're talking
with
about. The insane wall.
Yeah, okay, it is Beautiful Mind. Yeah. It feels like the Charlie Day Beautiful Mind skit, but it's your own notes.
Yeah.
And it's on a screen, and it just it's such a dopamine hit, bro.
Anyway, with the free version, you get that for yourself, and you can make as many vaults as you want, but you don't technically need more than one because it's just like how the folders work. Doesn't matter. If you want anyone else to read it, you can either export it as like a text file, which is difficult / experimental, depending on how many keywords you put in there, or you can do what I just did, which is they want if you buy for a whole year, it's $8 a month. $8 a month, and then you can post that on the internet as its own website that you can just send links to anyone you want to read it, and now everybody in the group has access to what is essentially a little wiki of the history of this D&D setting, and yeah, I highly recommend Obsidian as a program. Free service is really all you need, but if you want to share with others, paying for it doesn't seem that bad for $8 a month. For essentially, you get to have your own Wikipedia that you can give people.
It's a very powerful tool. Highly recommend it. And yeah, him sending me the link, it's been easy to read. It's basically you sent me a wiki. You basically sent me a wiki of your setting. And which is pretty easy to navigate and fun to navigate. So that's pretty cool.
Spectacular. Anyway, that ate up like a couple days of my life. So the moment that I had a microphone in front of me, I was just sort of shaking, being like, I want to talk about that. So that's me getting it out there. Tony, what do you got going on?
So, as you may or may not know, by the time you hear this message, ladies and gentlemen, I will already
be dead.
Yeah, I'll already have had my ass handed to me or have handed other people their asses at NovaOpen. This will be my first year attending the event. It's, for those of you who don't know, it is a gaming convention held in D.C., Nova being the Northern Virginia area, Northern Virginia.
You know, in South Park, Soto, Sopa, we're kind of
on
the bleeding edge of being terrible gentrifiers. That's what this area of Virginia is.
We have our own Soto Sopa by historic Route 1. It's called Stonebridge.
It's awful.
And yeah, it has all the ritzy nonsense.
The most expensive townhome you can get that is 6 feet away from an active freeway.
The lofts at Soto Sopa.
Yeah.
Yeah,
awful.
We did that.
NovaOpen, though.
Yeah, NovaOpen, NovaOpen. So they host a whole bunch of tabletop games over there, and a bunch of tournaments are going on over there. And I have been a Warhammer boy for many a moon since I was in the 2nd grade. In fact.
My gosh.
Yeah, they got me early. I walked into Potomac Mills.
And they had an addict for life.
They did. They knew. They got. I remember reading as I got older what part of their business model was understanding that if we hook them as kids, we hook them for life, and that's when they started adapting to where they have very simple mini kits and Toys R Us and stuff. Which leads us to that notorious toy review of the chick painting the minis and not priming them. They're like blue. They're like Space Marines, and they have blue plastic because they're using like these new plastic molds. And then it comes with these like basic paints, and like the review is like her like using the yellow over the blue with no primer, and then the comments are just screeching, just incoherent rage screeching. Myself included, by the way. You prime your fucking minis before you paint them.
She doesn't even know what primer is, man.
I bet, dude. I wonder. It's funny how many times someone thinks, I want to be a journalist, and then in order to like, okay, well, what's a market that's really untapped? Oh, I'll be a toy journalist. But you don't know shit about toys? I feel like you need to be a journalist about a thing you actually know about. I don't know. Whatever. Maybe she is. If you're listening to this, I'm sorry if I'm being a meanie, but damn lady, prime your fucking minis. Anyway, NovaOpen, this will be my first year attending.
Yeah.
And, I had tried to go to Nova for the last 3 years.
I remember.
And every single time, something or the other has foiled my plans.
Sometimes catastrophic, sometimes regular.
Yeah. And
for example, that plague that happened.
Oh, man. Yeah, that is what happened. Fuck, dude. Anyway.
We obviously don't need to update anyone on that.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, the less we talk about it, the better. So
first year you're able to do it.
This is the first year able to go, and when I first got into Warhammer as a wee lad, I was into Warhammer 40,000 because I saw like most people my age, I saw the sick nasty Drukari versus Space Black Templar starter set, all painted and displayed in my local Games Workshop, and I basically I bricked my pants when I saw it. I was like, what the fuck is this? Space elves with sick nasty needle rifles shooting these space knights? What do you mean? And the guy was like, he saw my excitement. And one nice thing about Games Workshop is they're typically run by people who are just as into it as everybody else.
Other addicts.
So yeah, other addicts. And he's just screeching at it to me as I'm screeching as a child. And I bought my first Space Marine. And then I instantly abandoned Space Marines for Eldar because I'm a classy man. So I've been playing Space Elves for quite some time.
Right.
Sadly enough, I'm actually selling my Space Elves. They no longer bring me joy. Good. Mario is a tried and true orc enjoyer, a true man of culture and science.
Best faction. Can't convince me otherwise. They're just having a good time.
And that's orcs with a K, not orcs with a C. So put some
Me, I like
respect
the
on it.
Tyranids. I'm a slut for creatures.
Bug good. They have a lot of really good bugs now with the new update. But yeah, so I started out in 40K, and it was our buddy Sean, rest in peace, who first got me into Warhammer Fantasy, and he convinced me to play the dwarves. And it was a very formative time in my life, and I actually influenced a lot of my personality around the dwarves, namely grudges and being stubborn, which is not a good look.
Ironically, he framed his personality around the thing that the dwarves were making fun of, technically.
Yeah, the whole point of Warhammer is it's satire, and the dwarves are like, oh, don't be a stubborn, grudgeful idiot, you'll literally ruin society, you dumbass. That's the lesson there.
And he saw that and was like, same.
Yeah, those
literally me, let's do it, grudge time.
It's not the war of the beard, it's the war of vengeance, god damn it. And I still rep that. Anyway, so I ended up getting into Warhammer Fantasy, and around the time End Times happened, people were selling their armies. It was all doom and gloom. There's a notorious video on YouTube of a guy burning all of his high elves and flicking off the burning box. I bet that guy feels like a dumbass now, but yeah,
it was already long dead.
People were selling their armies, and I remember thinking if this is around 2010. 2011 maybe? And I remember thinking, wow, I'm going to buy this stuff off people, and maybe one day I can show my kids and be, look at this cool game that was important to me when I was your age. It's not around anymore, but, I still have these toys, and I still have my rule books. You guys want to play a few games? I know plenty of boomer-ass dads that do shit like that. Your dad did that with Battletech and HR.
Damn straight.
Yeah, that's bad. Yeah, and Battletech's back. Battletech's back, baby. It looks fun.
Yep.
There was some guys playing it down at Game Gear, so when I was over there playing Warhammer.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, just like a little group playing some fucking Battletech. It was geeking me out. Anyway, so I ended up buying a whole bunch of minis and collections from people, and then ding dang dong, Age of Sigmar comes out, and excuse me, Age of Sigmar, when it first came out, was not a game. It was a beer and pretzels game. They were actively making fun of us. And if it wasn't for the fact that Sean himself told me that someone at Games Workshop said everything coming out right now is appeasement, it should only be seen as such. They intend to revamp all of the ranges and make entirely new armies. It's an entirely new game. But in the meantime, here are rules for all your current minis. Go. There were no point values. There was no structured play. And a lot of the units had nonsensical-ass rules. For example, me, being a dwarf player, if you had a more illustrious beard than your opponent, your character got a ward save or something.
Wait, the actual person,
and that's and that's around the time I started growing a beard. Unironically, I was like, if I want to still play this game, it's near and dear to me, and if having a beard gives my guy a bonus, so fucking be it. You will note, chat or listeners, I am currently clean shaven. So it wasn't really a game. And we're going to rewind a little bit here. When I first got into Warhammer, I got the dwarves. And then after I had a decent collection, I figured the defenders of Karak Hern needed a worthy foe.
Yes.
And that is when I got into Skaven. because when I first
So the Decepticons to the dwarves Autobots.
100,000%. The other option was Orcs and Goblins. My brother played Orcs and Goblins. I'm not going to cramp his style. That's his thing. He's doing his, and he's doing it well. That son of a bitch, Nick, if you're fucking listening, your block of 30 Black Orcs with Grimgor Ironhide gives me nightmares to this fucking day. Like, in a game where unironically your little soldier's leadership value and their like willingness to fight is a major factor, I have lost, I dare say, thousands of men to the Black Orcs. Not because they died standing up and fighting, no, they got cut down running from the Black Orcs like dogs.
Oh my goodness.
So many waves of Skaven dead.
Orcs, baby.
Because Gitsnik was a magical axe that gave him +2 strength and always strikes first. So it was a great weapon without being, listeners, if you don't understand how Warhammer works or not, familiar with it, in the old world, there are initiative order, and so your initiative stat is your striking order going from the 10 to 1. And so high number goes first, and then every number to black goes. Okay. And if you have a great weapon, like a two-handed weapon, it gives you +2 to your strength characteristic, which makes you swing a lot harder. It also gives you a more armor penetration. So basically, +2 strength. If you hit them, you're fucking them up.
Yeah.
But it also gives you always strikes last. So you strike at initiative 1. Well, Gitsnik had all the perks of a great weapon and none of the side effects.
Yeah.
And not only that, you're striking at initiative 10. So it's an orc with strength. I think he had strength 8. Which also, in older editions of Warhammer, this is not a thing anymore. And to those of you who are new to the game, this might blow your fucking mind. If you had double the strength of someone's toughness, the blow killed them instantly, period. That was one of the biggest trade-offs of elves, is elves all had toughness 3. There was not a single toughness 4 elf, because they're frail and delicate.
In the old days, you could carve through an elf like with a spoon, like you were soap.
Yeah, dude. Okay, one of my favorite moments in Warhammer 40,000 5th edition. Sean was playing his Drukhari. He had a bunch of he had an Archon. No, this was 6th edition because they just got their fucking crazy ass update. He had his Archon with his fucking Incubi retinue in one of the Raiders, and it just flew. He did the thing where he set his entire army up on one side of the field. I set my army up in a nice little formation. I'm playing Imperial Guard. So I need walls of guardsmen. And between me and him, didn't matter, baby. Turbojet those fucking skimmers right over my goddamn gun line. By turn 2, his Archon was fighting my fucking force commander. He was fighting my my platoon commander. Or company commander, my company commander. And
this guy's gotten a lot of
yeah, dude,
promotions.
Guard used to be crazy. So you used to get 3 troop choices. You'd have to have 3 troop choices for your list. And the guard troop choice, one slot was could be 5 squads. Because they were meant to die like flies. It was tragic. Anyway, yeah,
and you're expected to paint them all.
All of them. Every last goddamn one of them. But, yeah, he's in my fucking company commander's, just in his shit. And I remember he used his, they have this thing called a Void Field, where they have a 2-up invulnerable save. It's a 2-up save that can't be modified and can't be ignored. But if you get a 1, if you ever fail it, it goes away forever. You just get you're 1 and done.
Right.
So it's really cool, but high risk, high reward shit, right? And I always gave my company commander a Power Fist because fuck yeah, Power Fist.
Yeah.
I know it's terrible for him. I don't care.
Sick.
But Power Fists double your strength and give you always strikes last and ignore armor. So my guardsman had strength 6. And his Archon failed to kill him in the round of combat. He only did 2 wounds to him. And I punched him. And I'm double his strength.
So you just blew him into
and
blood
he rolled
salsa.
a 1. And so I blew that stupid elf's head into blood salsa. And that was one of the highest moments I've ever had in Warhammer. Was crushing an Archon's head like a grape with just a guy with a Power Fist.
I imagine that they're you win and his men return to him. And then they're like, oh my god, what happened? And he's he's cut up. The Archon still wounded him. And he's like, turns out sons of bitches have glass chins, boys.
That's so fucking good. And even better, the guardsmen models I was using were the Vostroyans. So they're basically Cossacks with really regal fucking weaponry. So it's this guy with this big fur hat and a robot leg and a fucking robot hand. And yeah, he pimp slapped that stupid elf right in his glass ass jaw, man.
Bow.
But yeah, going back to playing fantasy, I got the Skaven, and the thing that originally sold me on Skaven is Clan Eshin.
Hold on, before you get to there, what are Skaven?
That is an excellent thing. So to those who are unfamiliar with Warhammer and its subsidiary games, the Skaven are London rats.
Yeah.
We discussed this a few episodes ago, and that I used to think so Warhammer has some racial overtones and undertones, some less subtle than others.
Right.
And some are actually misattributed. I myself am guilty of this. I always thought it was reading Gotrek and Felix in high school and reading that Black-furred Skaven are bigger and more aggressive. I was like, oh, okay, yeah, dire humans.
Yeah,
okay.
I'm sure that has no racial coding to it whatsoever.
Yeah, as a half-black man, that always made my lip curl slightly, but I love the IP enough, you get a pass.
Yeah.
And it's also a different time. You can't judge people from the past as you judge them today. It's just not fair.
Right.
But always made my lip curl. Come to find out, actually, that's not them being racist. That's them being accurate. The London Black...
That's right. We're making a huge pivot in the content of our... No. Go
God
on,
bless.
Tony.
Yeah, we became alt-right all of a sudden. But no, fucking... The London Black Rat, which came over on ships from England to America, are fucking Skaven. So if you're familiar with biology and how these things work, the American brown rat is a very peaceful, gentle creature that likes to live by the water. They're pretty cool, and in fact, pet rats are mostly derived from these rats.
Yeah.
Feeder rats are derived from these rats. And then there is the scourge known as the black rat, who currently lives in New York, and there's several species of these
They
at
have
this point.
subspecies.
They have their own clans like Skaven.
Yeah.
Everything that Skaven is talking about is specifically the London perspective of what a rat is. And when I was a boy, I knew the American rat, and I always thought, man, they're really giving rats a bad rep. Rats are such beautiful, gorgeous creatures. I was going to get pet rats, they don't live long enough.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
They live for 2 years.
Three tops.
And I could not imagine just having to go through that level of...
The heartbreak.
Just cycling out these rats.
You have to get thick skin and a thick heart quick.
Yeah.
But, yeah, so learning, okay, rats are such beautiful, gorgeous creatures. They spend most of their time grooming themselves. Why is Clan Pestilence a thing? That's not cool. Come to find out, actually, no, they're entirely fucking accurate. Black rats are not brown rats. Black rats are evil demons sent or a scourge upon this world to punish us for our sins, by God.
Specifically to punish London.
Yeah, specifically to punish those guys. And then, being Londoners, they sent them over to America and fucked us up too, and that's why New York rats will eat babies. They'll fucking do that. They'll think they won't.
They'll make dingoes look like pacifists.
Dude, they'll devour them like piranha.
Like. Hold on, I have a better joke. They'll make dingoes look like prenatal surgeons.
You fucking idiot. You stupid. Anyway, so the Skaven are just that. They are the thing that lurks below. They are one of the various beastmen from Warhammer. It's uncertain if they were men that turned into rats or rats that turned into men. Most folks believe it is the latter because they can talk to rats and they have power over rats. They consider themselves kindred spirits.
Right.
And the Skaven are the shittiest, self-serving, backstabbing Saturday morning cartoon villains that ever were. Every Skaven believes that he is chosen by the Horned Rat to usurp all other Skaven, and the rest exist to serve or die at his feet. Just not yet. Even the lowliest slave, the runt of the litter, the guy that's shoveling shit and eating it in equal measure for his existence, knows that one day
I'll be on top, and then we'll see who's eating which shit.
Exactly, and all of them think this. And that is why Skaven are exceedingly dangerous in large numbers. Because of their delusions, they literally will swarm in fervorish zealotry because they know the bullets won't hit me, I'm the chosen one. They're going to hit the other guys.
Yeah.
Most of them genuinely think this when they're fighting.
They fully fight under the belief, even if I do get hit, it'll be for, the arc where I'm injured, and then I'll maybe, find some other guy that'll help me out, and then I'll betray him, and it'll be okay, because I'm the chosen one.
Yeah, and it's only when like that delusion is dismissed by overwhelming might or just a brutal, cold-handed reality that their true nature comes out of being cowardly rats and they run. So Skaven are orcs and Skaven are similar in that at their core they're cowardly. But whereas the orc is just too stupid to realize the dangers he's in most of the time, the Skaven is deluded into thinking there's no danger at all, or at least I can get around it. I'm better, and if I keep scheming and plotting and trust
they really embody all those people who were talking about the billionaires who died in that submarine who were like, I don't know, I feel like I could have made it.
Yeah, it's that stupid fucking mentality of like, no, I'm different, bro. I'm built different. I'm built different, bro. Like, fuck you.
Difference with the orcs is when orcs run away, it's not because they lost. It's because if they run away and live, they can just come back and fight again later.
They're just regrouping, man.
I mean, ironically,
orcs
one group,
never lose. They just didn't win that day.
That one group thinks that they were built different. Orcs are built different.
They really are. Yeah, fair enough, man.
They're fucking fungus. They're not even the same kind of thing you are.
One of my favorite orc moments in Warhammer Fantasy is in one of the Gottfried and Felix books. I think it might be Orc Slayer. And an army of dwarves are trying to distract an orc horde so that a different army of dwarves can basically like leave the city and go take a settlement elsewhere. And the thing that turns the tide, the thing that defeats the orcish horde and stops the orcs from not only like destroying the army sent to stall them, but then overrunning the army trying to like advance, is that they kill the war boss. And it's not that the orcs are like, oh, our guy is gone, the day is lost. They don't give a shit about that. Why would they? But what had happened was, his number 2 saw the shiny axe he dropped and picked it up thinking, my axe. And the second he did that, the number 3 cut his head off. And then picked up the axe and said, my axe. And all of the knobs began to kill each other. And then the cliques broke out instantly. And the orc mob tore itself apart to get the shiny choppa. That is the most...
That's how orcs do!
That is the most orc brand orc self-sabotage, like... Not even just their nature destroyed them. Like that, I love that about Warhammer orcs.
Orcs fight each other more than any other species.
Because even Skaven believe in cooperation to a point.
Right, so they can betray each other.
Orcs aren't cooperating, they're following the boss. There's a difference, man. There's a huge difference, and it's epitomized by like all the lore about orcs.
Yeah, if you ain't bigger than me, you ain't gonna tell me what to do.
So I recently found out that at least in Warhammer 40k, like the sci-fi side of the setting, this is the truth. Like of the different species, like they have their religions, and they have like their believed like not really afterlives. They sort of see it more grim dark than that. So it's always sort of like do you get to continue existing or what? The only ones who definitely have a heaven are the orcs. Because you don't die, you go back into the hive mind until they need to put out another orc.
We need more boys.
And we need more boys, so then you go back out into the world. And it's a closed loop. They only enter or exit the hive mind.
It's real Valhalla.
So it's just heaven.
If you're a neo-pagan, I apologize. But it's proved Valhalla. Yeah. There we go. It's proved Valhalla.
That is as close to there definitely being like a heaven or a Valhalla in any part of this setting. All the other heavens are like, and we will live until we are eaten by the space demons who are always coming.
Speaking of the space elves that I'm selling mine of, I think it's the 6th edition Orc Codex opens with like an Eldar philosopher explaining how we think we're hot shit. We think we're the pinnacle of existence. We're all fools. We live horrible existences. You know who hasn't made? The orcs.
Yeah, Uthane the Profane.
Yeah, yep, he knows. Yeah, my man's a scholar. Yeah, and he comments about they have no poverty, they have no existential dread, they have an excellent system of currency. You are your own money, your teeth. If you are poor, you can just wait long enough, knock your own fucking teeth out, and
or
there
knock
you
someone
have
else's out.
Or an egalitarian system. The system works.
Yeah.
And it's just they have, in a sense, a perfect society for them. And so they are they're winning.
Yeah.
40k orcs are winning perpetually, and that's one of the most hilarious things. Even when they've been routed out, even when they've been wiped away from whatever sector, At the end of the day, the rest of the species is not shedding a single tear about that.
No, because they didn't even really die. They just went back into the hive mind.
They just started over, man. They're back to square. And now I'm just a little boy runt.
Yeah.
And one day I'll be a big knob too. And one day I'll be the boss.
Yeah.
Until he gets shot by a last cannon. And then, I'm a little boy again. It's time.
But one day I'll be the boss.
Whereas everyone else is screaming into the ether, "Ah!" as demons destroy the
Why?
cycle. Yeah.
Why would a loving God do this?
Because he's not in that setting.
Yep, wrong setting, bro.
But yeah.
When humans watch other humans get cut down, that's horrifying. Orc will probably just laugh.
So going back,
wasn't no good.
Yeah, bad orc.
on the fantasy counterpart of that with goblins, because goblins are also terrible. Because there's Gretchen and 40k, but they're not. I wouldn't say they're comparable. Comparison, they're like an entirely separate thing. Gretchen, I would consider one of the various goblinoids. Those including hobgoblins, snotlings, nublars, and goblins. Those are all the goblinoids of Warhammer that I know of. Anyway, point being,
God damn. Fucking Warhammer's so dorky. I love it.
dude, I love it, man. I love it. So with goblins in Warhammer, one of my favorite units is the Doomdiver Catapult. The Doomdiver Catapult is basically a man slingshot. And you get on a wingsuit, and you put on a very long, pointy hat. And you get in the slingshot.
I think I've put together the aim of this weapon.
and a goblin thinks, I want to go flying. That looks like fun. And they get in the Doomdiver Catapult, and it yeets them into the battlefield. And then they're flying with their flight suit going, yeah, like Falcor, yeah! Until they find a nice, shiny target, and they skewer it with their helmet, snapping their neck and killing them.
Yeah.
Duh.
Because you can't land on your head.
No one ever comes
That's not
back.
how anybody's body works.
But goblins don't have enough foresight to know or care about that part. It just looks really fun, and let me tell you, it is.
Yeah.
They're always saying, wee!
I mean,
which is why Warhammer is hilarious.
Of the ways to die, that sounds like a pretty good one.
If you have to go one way, it's either getting eaten by a squig or doing that. I'm picking that.
Yeah.
Like, one of my other favorite snippets of, like, goblins just being shitty and terrible, it's, I think it's in, Grudgebearer, one of the first of the dwarf trilogies. And basically this dwarf king is shoehorned by the Book of Grudges into taking a hold, and they're like discussing like the tunnel fighting, and they have like retreated back to one of like the other layers and are going through like basically a big old portcullis, and their dwarves retreat and the goblins are advancing the portcullis, but there's a wall of dwarven guns and siege weapons pointed at that gate, so anyone going through is cut down instantly.
Yeah.
And they're sitting for about 20 minutes waiting to know the goblins are done so they can rest. And the reason they know the goblins are still there is about every 2 minutes, one other goblin pushes one down and he gets cut down by arrows and bolts, and the other ones giggle. And so until that stops, they know the goblins are still there.
Trust me, their simple minds will inevitably be entertained by it, and they are far, far too stupid to ever not get bored doing this. So they'll get bored, they'll push out one of them, and then we'll get them. It's a slow system, but it keeps everyone right where they need to be.
Yeah, and then they also describe, I think the reason the dwarves fall back is they describe the Goblin Fanatic. The Goblin Fanatic is a fan favorite. The Goblin Fanatic, don't you know, eats this magical mushroom that makes him spin really, really good. And he gets super strength somehow by doing this. And all he wants to do is spin. All he wants to do is spin, man. He has to keep spinning and spinning and spinning. So they strap a chain ball to his arm.
Lose yourself to dance.
Yeah, and then they really let him. They hold him in a bag or something or restrain him so he's getting real wound up. He's like, oh, I want to spin so bad, I want to spin so bad. And then they're advancing on the dwarven shield wall, which their stupid stone spears can't do shit about. But then Gaio Ball, they just kind of yeet him to the front, and he kills hundreds of those stunties, bro. It's bad. The book described it so fucking horrifyingly. Like, they have this shield wall of, like, steel, and they're like, the goblins can't do dick, their arrows can't do dick. And then this ball out of nowhere smashes 5 of their fucking skulls, and all of them panic and flee, because what the fuck is that?
So, let me be clear about, like, what's going on. Is he encased in a sphere?
No, he has a chain ball strapped to his wrist, like a ball and chain.
And he's just
spinning.
He's just out there doing the swing in a chain.
Yeah, he's a walking wrecking ball.
He's a wrecking ball. And he's hopping around spinning, and he won't stop till he's dead.
Just feeling the rhythm.
And sometimes they kind of get, disoriented, so they kill more goblins than dwarves.
Right.
But And point-wise, if you kill, like, one dwarf warrior, you're up, like, 3 goblins, man. So,
Yeah.
one of my favorite things about Warhammer Fantasy Battles is playing Skaven and, like, the appeal and the funny, like, the grim darkness of the setting and the true, like nature of how fucked up warfare can be, even in a historical reenactment game. If I lose 11 Skaven slaves dragging down one Bretonnian knight, I'm up in points, baby.
Good lord.
Because slaves cost 2 points. Bretonnian knight cost at least like 25, I think.
Oh my lord.
So yeah, if that little devastating charge of yours, if I blunt your fucking spear, and you're not able to cut them down instantly.
You fool! You were focusing on killing all of my guys. Luckily, I brought more guys than you could ever kill.
So it was routine, and Sean fucking hated it. I would routinely field 200 slaves a game.
God!
I would field 4 blocks of 50, and then each one was led by a warlock engineer with no upgrades, so he only costed 15 points. And then he gave them +3 leadership because he's a pretty big guy-o.
Right.
And so slaves had a thing where if the unit broke, they just destroyed themselves. Like the unit just wiped instantly, but it would do damage to everything near it as the slaves panic and rip themselves apart and just try to escape frantically.
Right.
So you could like murder bomb people by like forcing your slaves to rout. Like you move slaves up to a very inconvenient place, shouldn't be there, and your opponent is basically baited into a charge they don't want to make, especially if they have frenzy, they have to charge. And then, they killed the slaves, that's great. You killed 100 points, and I actually killed 110 points of models in their outburst. Fun game, right? It pissed him off so fucking much, dude. To have his, like, fucking Cold One Knight, this Druki, who's, like, hundreds of years old in full-plate armor riding a fucking venomous dinosaur, get dragged down by a mangy rat with a spoon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's like my favorite memes, like that, but with the orcs. It's just like, yeah, your space marine captain who's been training for centuries or millennia with the blade, and then gets gunned down by a horde of screaming green idiots that was born like maybe 2 weeks ago. Like,
yeah. Like, dude, what a fucking meme, bro. But yeah, okay, going back to my Skaven boys. So I have my own little clan called Clan Flufferkin.
You can see the wall.
You can see the wall in the audio file. That's awesome, bro. I'm gonna have to clip that. But I have my own little Skaven clan, and they're pink and pretty. And like every Skaven worth his salt, my clan is better for reasons that are arbitrary and don't make any sense, don't you know?
Yeah.
And that's why we're better than all the other clans, and you have to deal with it. And they're pink and pretty. So I'm bringing Clan Flufferkin to Nova this year. Mm-hmm. And it'll be my first time playing in a competitive event in a grand tournament. So I'm looking forward to that.
That is been really what's been something that you've been having to work on a lot lately, especially because for like an official tournament, you need to like fully have a painted army, right?
Yeah, they have to be at least battle ready, which to my understanding means three colors, and then they should be like shaded. There's an actual scoring rubric on how well your shit is painted. So, like, if
man.
Yeah, I just check the rubric. Most of my guys check out. I've been doing touch-ups and stuff to make sure I'm not going to miss out on points. Mm-hmm. I think one of my favorite parts about going to an event like this is typically in the smaller events, you're only judged based on your performance of the actual game.
Yeah.
Which makes sense. You're playing the game. You should be judged based on the game.
Right.
But at grand tournaments like this, I know a lot of, like, the boomer dads who, like, don't have time to, like, learn the game well enough and are just sort of roll dice and have fun. They don't really care how well they do. You can get most of your scoring based on how pretty your army is.
Yeah.
That's an entire field of, like...
I mean, also, if you look in the history of Warhammer as, like, a game, the game part came about because they wanted to, like, give you something to do with the army of pretty miniatures who you should just have because you like.
Yeah, I know there's... Okay, so modern-day Warhammer is definitely considered like a sport now, but when I first got into it, it wasn't considered a sport, it was a hobby. And, obviously it still is a hobby, but what I mean by that is, when I first got into the game, everyone I knew who played and also, like, was in it, we were all unanimously under the impression the point of the game was to make your dudes.
Yeah.
It wasn't about, like the rules and stuff were there to support the minis, and it still should be a playable, fun game. certain units are overpowered and yada yada, power creep, whatever, don't worry about it. But at the end of the day, the point was, carve out your little slice of the old world / the 41st millennium. These are your dudes, this is how they function, this is your character, and that's why the HQ is like supposed to be like you as the general. It was all about making your little army and your little faction that's yours. And they highly recommended and promoted conversions and like kit bashing and like making your guys unique and awesome and cool because they're your dudes.
Yeah, and the IP on both sides is so like vast and sprawling, and then like, you know, the lore is like so vague that, you know, like your dudes could very well be out there somewhere.
Yeah.
Like that's plausible. Like
and every time I make an army or collect an army, I still have that in mind when I do so. I always think about what is my faction doing, what are they doing, and that's why almost on my list I don't use special characters. I typically don't use named characters because not because they're weak, but because part of the fun of the game to me is like
it breaks the canon.
Yeah, I want like so for Skaven, I don't use Screech or Thankul. Because I use Gracie Fluffy the Adorable. That's my guy. He's adorable. He has big old anime eyes. And
Thankful never met any of these people. Why would he be here?
Yeah, exactly. And another crap. What was I going to go with this? No, I definitely enjoy where Warhammer is currently at. I didn't think it was going to be here. I generally, when I was buying people's armies in like 2011, 2010,
it looked like it was on its way out.
It looked like it was on its way out, and that was a huge investment now because I'm sure I'm still trading stuff to get stuff.
Yeah.
Like, you know, because I don't got a huge hobby budget, so being able to like trade old minis for new minis is fucking poggers, bro. I've been liquidating my Eldar, and that's been fucking gangbusters, man. People need those guys.
I do have a question. I'm not really active on the internet outside of memes, so I don't know what people actually say to one another. Do people still say poggers?
I don't think so. I think it's fallen out. I mean, I say it ironically, but like...
I mean, it lives in my head forever, so obviously, but... But I just realized, like,
there was a controversy about, like, the face or something. I think, I don't know, I think, like, the alt-right tried to hijack it or something. I don't remember.
They do that a lot. Doesn't matter. I just realized, like, poggers is like, that's...
It's old, man.
We're old.
Yeah. I'm 33. I'll be dead soon.
Speaking of you thinking like you thought it was gonna die, like I didn't really get into Warhammer.
Yeah.
Until like basically like Rob had told me about it before. Like we used to just drive around and get high and just tell each other shit.
They're both D&D nerds, and that's an adjacent hobby.
Like,
that's stuff that. Who here hasn't done that?
Yeah. I would froth at the mouth, tell him like about like you know D&D shit, and then like I just remember specifically one time like he just went on a rant about 40K, and I was like, this is fascinating. Like, why don't I know about this? Like I kind of know, like I knew about the models and stuff. And like
the lore is where it's at. Like the game itself is cute and fun, but if you don't know about Warhammer, the lore is fucking excellent, bro.
Yeah. And then
especially
started hanging out with you. You got me, like, you reignited my interest in it, and then I started learning the lore, and, like, I don't really play the game. Like, I have some orcs and stuff, but, like, game hard. I don't want to learn it. And so I just like the lore. Like, I've...
Yeah.
The past, like, 3 years, I've consumed, like...
Basically every book?
No, there's, like, 400.
Every book that was about orcs.
I've read it. Like, all of those. Yeah. But they're like 40 novels at least. Like, and that's like a percent of like the total novels out there.
The Black Library is.
There's just so much of it.
And I have his orc minis. They're on my backlog to refurbish because one of the gripes I have with 40K and why I don't play it as much is they keep doing rebasing. And so the thing that pushed me over the edge of selling my Eldar is they up the base size from 25 millimeters to 28.5 millimeters, which is a new base they introduced a few years ago.
Right.
There used to not be any 28 millimeter models, but because of how the rules interactions worked, they deemed and how the minis are scaling up. Like most of the Eldar look better on the 28s. They do look better on them. It fills out better, but I don't feel like rebasing all of my fucking Eldar.
Right.
I just don't feel like doing that.
That takes hours and hours and hours.
Because I've already rebased so many minis, and like for better reasons. And you know the Marie Kondo thing she always says on her little show is if it doesn't bring you joy, you don't need it, and they no longer bring me joy. 40k in general doesn't really bring me much joy. I still love my Space Nuns, they bring me plenty of joy. I still love my Kit Bash Scions, they bring me plenty of joy, so I'm holding on to them. The Imperial Agents Codex just dropped. I thought it was underwhelming. I was really energized about that. And then I saw the unit roster options. I don't much care about that book. I think it'll probably make some fun lists for other people. But my current project to get back into 40k is I'm going to play Chaos Space Marines that are Space Skaven. I'm going to take, I'm going to take all of my old Firstborn Heretic Astartes minis and various like AdMech stuff I've been accumulating and a few Gene Stealer cult stuff. And we're going to Kit Bash some Space Skaven, and that's going to be how I get back into 40k if I play, between Space Nuns and that. I would like to have 2 armies. I haven't really played my Guard in a while, and they're pretty mixed matched anyway. I'd have to get a whole bunch of new shit, and I just don't feel like doing that. So instead, I'm going to Kit Bash my own cool little army. Yeah.
Hell yeah.
And, but speaking of Nova, and Skaven, well, I guess I'm going to talk about Skaven some more. So, the Age of Sigmar, we were talking about the game in general, so I'll go a little more context here. So when Warhammer ended, Warhammer Fantasy Battles ended, I think around 2011, 2012, with the end times. Part of the Warhammer genre is that chaos is always supposed to win.
Yeah.
A huge part of and theme of the setting is that it's the dying of the light. Like, society is collapsing because, or the societies, the universe, the galaxy existence is collapsing to the entropy of chaos. That's just what's happening. It's inevitable, and you are trying to struggle against that. That's the whole point of the IP.
It's implied that like it's due to moral failings. However, it's also like an inevitability of life. That it's not even to say like, oh yeah, you guys weren't virtuous enough for life to continue existing. No, life existing is what causes this. Extinction is as natural as birth.
Yeah, correct. Exactly right. It's kind of deep when you think about it. But the end times happen in the Warhammer Fantasy Battle basically like. Archeon the Ever-Chosen, chosen by the 4 Chaos Gods, rallied up all the bad boys up north, and as he was doing his march south to destroy everything, instead of the various forces of order being able to band together to stop that, all of the apocalypses happened at once, and it became super fucked.
Yeah.
My favorite one being, the Skaven blew up the moon with a laser cannon.
Yep.
Because why the fuck wouldn't they?
They've been working on the moon blow-up gun for years, and no one believed they'd ever complete it.
Skaven Blight can, must, and will blow up the moon. Vote for me, Icket Claw. So,
yeah, we're gonna make it rain magic crack.
Yeah, so Skaven, don't you know, worship and venerate this stuff called Warpstone. It is the pure stuff of chaos, as we spoke, and is bad juju. If a human touches it, worms sprout out of their hands and they get mutated. They shouldn't touch it. It's bad.
And they become a bigger dick than they've ever been.
They're nuclear rocks. You just shouldn't. They're just radiating bad juju juice. They're bright green. It's bad. But the Skaven love this shit. They can't get enough of it. It's their currency, in fact.
They snort it like cocaine and shit.
The 2 only real currencies for Skaven, like, because otherwise it's all bartering, are slaves and Warpstone. If you do not come with a tribute of slaves and Warpstone, you'll get eaten because you're not worth anything besides food. So Skaven love this green shit, and it's terrible. And don't you know, there are a few moons in the old world. There's Mansleb, the actual moon, which is like, sometimes it waxes and wanes, like the moon does.
Yeah.
And then sometimes, after it wanes, instead of Mansleb waxing, Morsleb waxes. Morsleb being the Chaos Moon. And when Morsleb waxes, sometimes it'll be various different sizes, impossibly so. And when Morsleb waxes as a giant fucking orb in the sky, terrible things always happen.
I'm gonna throw a thing at you.
Oh yeah?
Mansleeb is the good moon. That literally is love and man.
That's
and
awesome.
Morsleeb, I'm guessing, is probably death and love.
Yeah, that makes sense. Love of death.
Yeah.
That's chaos. That makes sense. So, one of the catastrophes of Morsleeb waxing is the city of Mordheim. There's a whole minigame about this. That city gets flattened. It just gets destroyed. And then the whole point of the game is a whole bunch of warbands are trying to figure out what the fuck happened.
Right.
And then pillage it. And so don't you know, Morsleeb is made out of pure Warpstone. It's the Chaos Moon. It's terrible. So anytime it waxes, Beastmen go into fuck frenzies and kill everything. The Skaven go from the sewers to the surface to fuck shut up. A Chaos Sorcerer summons a bunch of demons because it can actually exist for a few days. It's always terrible. And in the end times, the Skaven were torn. They're like, okay, well, the Chaos Moon is up there. We have 2 courses of action. The Council of Greyseers, currently calling the shots, have decided they're going to use their horrible magic and they're going to pull it closer. And if they pull it closer, our spells and stuff are going to be emboldened because we're pure children of chaos. So we're going to be stronger and better for it. That's a great plan. But don't you know, the Greyseers couldn't do that because the Slan, the big old fat lizard men, who are basically the stewards of the world, were stopping them.
Yeah.
And it's kind of a dick move.
From the other side of the world, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, from the other side of the world, basically. And they were doing a good job about that. And because the Greyseers failed, obviously, according to Clan Scryer, the backup plan was, we're going to blow that fucker up, and we're going to make it rain crack rocks, and then we're going to be dripping in money, brother. There's no way this plan could fail. There's
Just
no
the
way this
scene
plan could backfire.
from Chappelle Show where he's holding the giant crack rock, and the woman's like, this could keep us high for, and he just like puts his finger to her lips. Hours.
Yeah. Just, that's all you need, baby. And so originally, Ikit Claw, your boy crush from Total War Warhammer, was commissioned by, oh my god, I forget, I think Lord Nodwell? No, Nodwell was Clan Moors. I used to know all the Council of 13 members. I used to be that much of a nerd. But Ikit Claw was commissioned by Clan Scryer to make a giant Doom rocket. The biggest Doom rocket ever made to blow that fucker up into the sky. But setback after setback after sabotage after incompetence, the Doom rocket wasn't taken off anytime soon. And he was called off the project. They were tired of his shit. And Ikit Claw was furious. He was furious they did this to him. And so part of the End Times book is him being furious about being taken off the Doom rocket project. His magnum opus, don't you know. But then he made his second magnum opus, a collaboration project with Throth the Unclean, one of the leaders of the Hell Pit of Clan Mulder, and they made the Storm Fiend. So those big rat ogres with the machine gun hands, that was their collaboration doomsday project, and that's what basically caused the downfall of the dwarves. They couldn't handle steampunk rat ogres with Gatling gun hands. No one could.
No one had even thought to consider such a thing.
Well, because they're too stupid to use weapons, but don't you know, if you put a little baby brain on their back, they have 2 brains, and then they're smart enough to use their weapons.
It does make them much more open to being shot in the brains.
It's why in
So they die probably pretty quick. But
in Vermintide and various other medias, yeah, that's the weak point. You shoot them in the back.
Yeah,
they have
a video game weakness.
They got a little master, little Guado from Metalocalypse back there. We're not dropping Guado. Guado's gold. But yeah, so Skaven are terrible. And yeah, so Ikit gets pulled off the project, and they get some other guy that I think they made up for the book. I don't remember his name. But he decides, well, Ikit Claw's a fucking idiot. He tried to make a rocket. No. The Doom rocket is untested, untried,
unproven
untrue.
Technology.
Unproven. Exactly. I'm going to make a lightning cannon. We're going to blow it up with a laser. Yeah, obviously a better, that makes sense in a fantasy setting, right? That we're going to make a doomsday laser? Well, don't you know, that the warp lightning cannon is a tried and true Skaven weapon.
Yeah.
And it was devastating. It still is devastating. And so, once again, sabotage after setback after backstab. It's not going too well, and my man decides, you know what? Fuck it, dude. I'm dead either way. I'm setting it up to 11, and we're firing it. It destroys...
Full send.
It destroys the gun. It destroys the entire chamber. It destroys him. But that little blast of warp lightning, it goes to the moon! And blows that fucker up.
And this is happening at the same time as every other apocalypse that has ever been forecasted for this setting is happening at, the self-same time. Across the world, there's a zombie apocalypse happening.
Yep.
Elsewhere, the jungles are running red with lizard blood.
Yep.
It's fucking bananigans.
Yep, so
imagine you're humans, and it's just like, oh, the forces...
Just another day in London!
The forces of chaos are rallying, and they're coming towards us, and then you look up, and the moon explodes, and that was the evil moon! Oh, no!
To name a few of the apocalypses, the quote-unquote civil war of the elves, basically the Dark Elves and the High Elves hashing out their feud,
right.
That reached critical mass, so where there was so many, side switches and shenanigan upheavals that, no one saw that shit coming, and a lot of people were pissed off about it, which I think they did okay. And then, so that apocalypse is happening. The undead are currently trying to figure out who's going to be the next god of death, because Nagash is back. If you don't know who Nagash is, I'll rant about him at another time.
Oh, we got tons to say about Nagash.
So all of the fucking vampires and tomb kings, the were basically like the mummy made manifest, are having their war of death, trying to figure out who is going to rule death, who is going to be in charge of the dead and the souls of the dead. And Nagash bitch slaps Anubis basically and says, "I'm in charge now." It's a really Chad move.
I mean, he's the guy.
He's the guy. He did it. He won.
He's just a wizard who he said, "I'm the best," and then he just was.
Yeah, he just did it. But he domed one of the elf Dami mommies into making him the best. And Chad move. And so that apocalypse is fucking happening. And then the Skaven are like fucking up the dwarves. There's just a whole bunch of terrible things happening, and then the moon explodes. And giant chunks of warpstone are raining towards the earth. They got that part right. But it was bigger than they done thought, and that was going to kill everyone on the planet. But don't you know, the Slan, being the stewards of the world, almost all of them died, swatting meteors out of the sky. That is what caused the Lizardmen's apocalypse, was the Skaven blew up the moon, and almost all of the Slan expended their life force to stop the world from being destroyed by that. And in the process, giving the Skaven a resounding victory. Two birds, one stone. Crack Rock still fell. We still got plenty of warpstone, and all those fat toadmen are dead. Bro, this could not have gone better. What a fucking story, man. So yeah, Skaven are terrible and awful, and I love them. My little rat boys. But the new Skaven range. So for Age of Sigmar, they updated Skaven as the flagship bad guy army. So we have our Ground Marines, the Stormcast Eternals, beating up the Rat Furries, the Skaven, my boys. I'm rooting for them. And they finally replaced all of the resin and metal minis with full plastic. I don't think there's a single resin mini left or metal mini left, which is good.
Right.
But glass half full, or glass half empty, rather. The cost of that was we lost a lot of support for 2 of the 4 great clans. So to those of you who are not familiar with the Skaven, there are 4 great clans. Well, there are more now in Age of Sigmar, but in the old world, there was the Clan Scryer, the Techno Rats, the Technocracy Rats, your boy Claw's part of them. Clan Molder, the Flesh Shapers, the Flesh Molders. They grow war beasts and rat ogres and big old beasties. And then there is Clan Pestilence, which rose to ascendancy pretty early on in the canon of Warhammer. And in fact, when they rose to ascendancy, that was the first great Skaven civil war. The Skaven were not a problem for all the other races for a very long time.
Too busy eating each other.
They were too busy fucking each other over, because Clan Pestilence thought our version of Skavendom is the only correct one. The Great Horned Rat is not the Ruinator, he is the Corruptor. And you must follow our scripture about what that means. And so all these basically Nurgle rats, these gross, filthy plague rats, were dominating and enslaving all the other Skaven in the name of their version of the Horned Rat. And the Council of 13, or I think this is either before or after the Council of 13, I could be getting my stuff here. Basically, the leaders that be of Skavendom, the big Illuminati rats, were at odds with the plague rats, the Fervorous plague rats. And the thing that turned the tide of the war away from Pestilence favor is the return of the 4th Warlord clan, who were far away in the east in Cathay, which is basically not China, not Asia. And they trained under the Hashashin of that setting, and are a bunch of ninja rats. Clan Eshin are a bunch of master splinters, and they came back from their long exodus with their shadowy, assassin skills, and because they were so good at their job, they assassinated almost all the entire priesthood of Clan Pestilence. And that's what turned the tide in the other Skaven's favor, basically forced them into a peace deal. Yeah, and they gave Pestilence a seat on the Council of 13. That's how they ended up getting peace, is they have a bigger stake in Skavendom. And that was made possible by that clan. And when I first heard that one of the great Skaven clans was a bunch of master splinters, being a wee lad and loving Ninja Turtles, and my mom has a fond story of us, me and my brother yelling into the sewers, asking if the 2 turtles were down there, and then just cracking up at how dumb we are as little kids. She says it was cute. I know they thought it was dumb.
It can be both.
It can be both. It is both, and it can be both. Oh, my throat is all messed up. But, Yeah, so when I learned one of the Skaven, or one of the clans, is just a bunch of Master Splinters, I was fucking sold. The first Skaven I bought was at one of the Games Day events. And I bought a collector's value box. It had 40 clan rats, 40 plague monks, 10, I think it had, plague sensor bearers, 10 plague sensor bearers, and 10 globadiers. I think that was what was in the box. And it was a nice value box. It was a good starter for Skaven. My second thing I bought, was a Greyseer mini. I still have him. He's a cute little boy. That's the one I molded to be Fluffy.
Yeah.
Not the current Fluffy, but he's the metal one.
Right. The original.
The original, yeah. He still has anime eyes and sparkles, because why wouldn't he? And that was my second purchase because I needed someone to lead my Skaven. And my third purchase was the Skaven Assassin, which I actually think I have on this table right here. Maybe I put him back on the shelf. He's probably on the shelf. But yeah, I got a Skaven Assassin because Master Splinter Rat good.
Yeah. And
so it was very sad to see the current range of Skaven with all their updates and premium minis, that not only did Eshin not get any minis, I mean, technically we got one, if you want to be ultra super specific technical. One of the Clan Rat sculpts, one of the leader units, can have a head swap. One of the head options is supposed to represent Clan Eshin.
Oh, so they've got 10% of them on.
You know what I mean? Anyway, so, but not only did we not get anything, they actually dropped the Gutter Runner. So, to those who are unacquainted,
it's like their base unit, right?
No, it's their elite unit.
Oh.
So the way Clan Eshin is very unique than the other Skaven because they actually have a twisted concept of honor. Other than them, it's basically Queek Headtaker is the only other Skaven that understands hey, if you're really good with a sword and you don't run from your opponent and actually fight to the end and stuff, that's actually kind of cool. Queek is the only other guy who figured that out besides Clan Eshin. And even then, Clan Eshin barely believe that. They'll claim to honor and loyalty and shit.
Right.
But there's still
the number of true believers is probably on the lower end.
In the way I typically see it manifest in the books about how they still have an honor system is basically they understand that their quote unquote dojo is their ticket to be better. And so if the dojo exists, I exist in a better form. So I need to preserve the dojo and the way of my teacher, because eventually if I'm a good enough dude, he'll teach me what he knows, and I too will be a badass ninja. So they have this weird pseudo, it's the whole, anyway.
It's like a Sith dynamic.
It's a Sith, yes. Basically, your teacher, your sensei, basically, will teach you all of his shadowy assassin shit. If you kill him, he can't teach you that. So you need to know that, and so there's a degree of loyalty and almost faith between them to do that. But it's all focused still on the idea that I am the guy, and eventually I'll have his spot, because won't be the guy anymore. I'll be the guy, because I am the guy.
There's no environment where you can raise them to not think that.
And every time they talk about an assassin in the books, it's always whereas the other Skaven will typically be mistrustful and be talking about other guys being, oh, he's out to get me, blah blah blah. Most assassins typically have thoughts along the lines of, I am the greatest. I am okay. So in Always Sunny in Philadelphia, there's a scene where they're trying out for football. They're trying out for the Eagles.
Yeah.
And Dennis is running, and he's thinking,
I'm a gazelle.
I am as swift as a gazelle. I am perfect form. I am just awesome and excellent.
It's all that lean muscle I've been cultivating, and then bam, right in the head.
Yeah, that is the Skaven assassin in a nutshell. They have him, one in the end times, is having this monologue where he's just I am the first assassin into this tower because I purposely left shitty kills so that all the guards will be alerted to my rivals in my wake, so that I'm going to get the kill and not them, because they sent 10 assassins or something. And he's and I'm the greatest. I am stealth. I am the knight. I am going to get the kill. Period. The end. He throws, as he's doing, he's doing ninja flips and throwing shuriken and getting hedged and slitting throats. It's fucking sick, but the whole time he's I am as graceful as a gazelle.
I'm a flawless killing machine.
And then he's doing all
God's
this shit.
most perfect weapon.
And then as he's singing it, a chameleon skink just shoots him in the head with a blowpipe and he dies.
Is that a lizard? Yeah!
It's hilarious. And then another cool Eshin scene is with Lizardmen again. One of the named character Lizardmen, he's one of I think he's a temple guard special character. He's the protector of the slain, yada yada yada. And I actually stole this for D&D. When you guys fought Norris, and he did that thing where I made you make the dex save or die, or get dropped to 0. It's based off of this thing he does, where it's a series of 100 sword strokes. Because he's dual wielding, and he's basically doing this like flurry of blows, but they're all technically like defensive strikes. He's not trying to hit you. He's trying to distract you and get you into a sense of like, okay, a flurry of blows thing.
Right.
And I think it's the 99th swing, he throws one of his swords up. And because of how he's maneuvered your eye up to this point, you're going to look up at it.
Right.
And the last stroke is he lunges at you with his entire body with his sword, just right into your chest. And it was such a cool concept, and it worked. Like, he got the fucking guy. It's just...
I thought it was going to get lame because it was going to be anime, like he catches the sword again or anything. No, fucking perfect.
He catches him right in the chest, but it's anime. He's such a stoic protector, it didn't matter. He just... Like, the Skaven sword is planted in his chest. It's a weeping blade, so it's made of warpstone venom. This shit is literally... It's like an acid lightsaber at this point. The assassin's like, got him. And then I think he bites his head off. Because he's a lizard man.
Yeah.
And so we know he didn't get him. And then because he's like special character man, he's just still standing.
Yeah. So, I mean, he's a lizard, so I imagine he pulls it out and then patches it with, I don't know, like some crazy leaves because this is a magic setting. But he's a lizard. They grow shit back.
Yeah, he was just unfazed by it. But it was such a cool scene. So Eshin has always been my favorite Skaven clan. And, yeah, but going back to what they did, they dropped... So the lowliest of Clan Eshin is the Night Runner. And basically every mission of a Night Runner is essentially a suicide mission. Like you got to figure it out, man.
Yeah.
We're being paid a lot of money for you to go do a thing that someone wants to be done extremely subtle, but there's no real way to do this subtly. And if you fuck up, you're all dead. So have at it, man.
If you die, try to make sure that it's after we're done.
Exactly. So that's the lowliest of Clan Eshin is the Night Runner. And if you get to do that for a few years, and you get good at not dying doing that, you get promoted to the Gutter Runner. Gutter Runner being basically the elites of the Clan Eshin. And the Gutter Runners typically know a few cool skills. They typically know how to do some ninja flips and some cool dodges. They know a few good moves. They're pretty sick nasty with the shuriken and throwing weapons. Typically they have enough money to have poison, so like if they hit you once, you're dead anyway. Don't matter. I just gotta nick you. I don't gotta actually hit you. And they're pretty cool guys. And if you do that for enough time, you become a full-fledged assassin. Typically an assassin will be leading a bunch of Gutter Runners. All those Gutter Runners are basically in the candidacy to become fellow assassins. Mm-hmm. And if you are a good enough assassin for good enough time, you become the Master Assassin. And at this point, you're a lone agent. You have permission from the dojo and permission from the clan in general to be able to act independently. Which, if you think about that with Skaven, and how Skaven operate and think and like just function, they're pack horrible horde monsters. Having enough trust / skill to act independently is like almost an anathema to those fucking creatures.
Yeah.
So it goes to show how drastically different they are from the other Skaven. And then a Master Assassin will get the most lucrative contracts, and they will just do some crazy ass ninja espionage shit. And then only a select few Master Assassins ever make it this far before being killed by a Dwarf King, or stomped by a fucking giant, or drained by a vampire.
Right.
You become a Death Master. The Death Masters are the leaders of Clan Eshin. They are the actual, like, typically in the game, assassins can never lead armies because that's just not their nature. That's not what they're there for.
Right.
Like, you can have a character. That's why I couldn't get the Master Assassin first. I had to get the Grey Seer. Master Assassins can't lead armies. But when they had rules for the Death Master could. He's a tactician, he's a general, he's an assassin, he is all of it. He is the guy of Clan Eshin. And then I believe there might be a rank above that, but the only thing I know above that is the council member. Right. Whoever's like sitting on the council, 13. So Clan Eshin, I always loved them. I always loved their dynamic and their design. But with the current Skaven launch, not only did we not get anything new, they dropped the Gutter Runners. They're gone. They're only going to be around for another year before they go to Legends, and they're not supported. But rumor has it that in one of the Versus boxes we're going to get released in like a few months, is going to be like Faction versus Gutter Runners. They're going to revamp them and re-release them. They might have a different name though. But if they do that, I don't care. I'm happy.
As long as it's the same basic concept.
As long as you give me the step up from Night Runners.
Yeah.
And then eventually replace the Night Runner model, because it's the ugliest, drunklest fucking model right now. It's so gross. Like, you should just 3D print your own. Like, I wouldn't use the Night Runner model. I have them, but I don't use them.
Do custom work for that one.
Yeah, I need to kit bash some, but I hate the Gutter Runner. Oh, the Night Runner model so fucking much. But the current Deathmaster model's fire. Slink, Skittershank, and his Warband are all fucking fire. Those are the little unit of them I had. Like, those guys are all... They have so much potential for the Master Splinter Rats, and they just didn't do them. I know why they didn't. They had to replace all the resin shit, and that was way more important. The whole range is plastic now. But Scryer has gotten so much love and attention, and it's not that... I don't know.
I feel like that's probably because it's the most popular clan. You know?
It is the most popular clan. Ikit Claw gave them so much love from Total War. And the third thing to me that like really solidified it was they typically make rules based off the models, and they try to sell like good models instead of bad models. And the Storm Fiend was the troop choice, basically the battle line choice for Clan Scryer since Age of Sigmar came out. Like, you could just spam Storm Fiends, and that could be like your army.
Right.
And so many people just have Scryer armies because that was an option. And so they're really appeasing / piggybacking off of that to where the clans that are descendants right now are Clan Verminous, which are basically generic Skaven. That's where Storm Vermin come from. Clan Scryer, which are the Techno Rats. And then Clan Molder, the Flesh Shapers. Eshin and Pestilence basically just got dropped by support. We believe there's going to be like a sub-army release of Pestilence or Eshin later this edition. I think it's going to be Pestilence. I think they're going to get their own sub-army. Going back to what I was talking about, the Skaven Civil War, I think because Pestilence was originally like the big, we're our own dudes faction, more so than the other three clans, I think we're going to get like a big wave of releases of them as almost like their own sub-faction.
Pestilence also has the design ethic of like, oh, it's them, but they focus on disease and plagues, is really easy to do, as well as to like differentiate them from regular Skaven, who yes have the disease and plagues, but that's not their main thing.
Yeah,
it's like it feels like an easier way for them to make basically the same army again.
Yeah,
if they want.
Also, then you just take whatever concepts you're using for fucking Nurgle and just
exactly
turn them into rats.
We already have tons of those assets. Why would we do anything else?
And that was actually a design element they only recently abandoned. One of the funner things I liked about AOS, because Warhammer lore is always vague and mysterious and nebulous on purpose.
Yeah.
Well, when Age of Sigmar first came out, the lore was very vague and like not well fleshed out. And one of the things that they did with that was kind of like alluded to, like, what is the Horned Rat? Who is the Horned Rat? What is the nature of the Horned Rat? Is he a lesser Chaos God? Is he actually a Chaos God? What's going on here?
Is he even real?
Yeah, exactly. Well, we knew he was real the second he got a demon.
Yeah.
When the Vermin Lord manifested, and he has his own greater demon, he's clearly a Chaos God.
I mean, that also took really close to the end times to happen.
They had a model back in like third ed. Like
they did?
Yeah, but it was not a well-known, well-thought, like well-discussed thing. But yeah, the Vermin Lord model is actually the original one's like a little metal guy. He's super. I have him up there on my shelf.
Oh.
Well,
then never mind.
They dropped him, I think, for a few editions, and they brought him back in 7th, but they never brought the model back. That's where my Warp Seer comes from. Is I converted the Demon Prince model into a Vermin Lord because they didn't have one. And then they made the Sick Nasty Current kit, which is fucking incredible, and has 4 variants. But that version of the Vermin Lord, that is like going back to the end times when they pulled the moon closer. That's what Vermin Lords turned into because the end times is happening. That's the explanation of that.
Gotcha.
Where was I going with this? Okay, the Vermin Lord.
The mystery of
the Horned Rat, right? Yeah. So we weren't sure what he was, but there was arguments to be made that he embodies all the Chaos Gods. He embodies Khorne's bloodlust with the ravening hunger. He embodies Slaaneish's self-serving nature and being the idea of perfectionism that I'm perfect. He embodies Nurgle's disease and corruption because they're filthy fucking rats and corruptors. And he embodies Tzeentch's need for knowledge and power, Scryer, forbidden science.
Yeah.
So he has each of the clans actually epitomizes one of the Chaos Gods to a point, right? So that was always an undertone that was with them.
Right.
But we also have a shoot. You're fine. The shoot being the bull god of the Chaos Dwarves, the god of shadows and flame. So we know there are already minor chaos deities. There are other demons in the warp that have such a presence that they are minor deities.
Yeah.
But there are the 4 great chaos gods. Well, when AOS first launched, they made Clan Pestilence basically its own army in a lot stronger sense than it is now, and they gained the keyword Nurgle. That wasn't a thing before.
Oh.
That wasn't a thing at all before. And in fact, the Nurgle faction, Nurgle Rotbringers, a lot of their abilities didn't work in Clan Pestilence at all because they had the Nurgle keyword. It would be like X, Y, and Z unit gets AIDS unless they have the Nurgle keyword. Well, all the Plague Monks are Nurgle. The Plague Call Catapult is Nurgle. The Verminlord Corruptor is Nurgle. And so that was an interesting thing of like, okay, what do you fucking mean by that?
Yeah, how can that demon be of Nurgle but also of this other god?
And so that goes back to what I was saying, where the Horned Rat epitomized, at one point, they were really leaning to the fact that he epitomized all 4 Chaos Gods in his own little way.
Yeah.
Now, they still might be playing that angle, because as of 4th edition, he is now one of the Chaos Gods. Full-fledged Greater God, he ascended. He is on the Pantheon. He is the 5th Chaos God. 100% full send canon, and that's what this edition is about. Is his ascendancy, and now the Skaven tide has come. They manifest the warps, the Blight City, which basically exists in its own little sub-realm, and they just yeeted it, portions of it, into all the other realms. So now there's just a giant Skaven horrible city in every single one of the 8 mortal realms. Deal with it. I don't know if Azer was even spared. It might have been, but maybe they just did it in Akshi, but I think they're going to be doing it to all the realms. Right now it's in the Realm of Fire.
Oh.
They definitely, that's what the intro event was. But they're really making the lore sound like it's going to be all of the mortal realms, including Sigmar's, which the whole point of the setting is that he was his last realm that was free of taint.
Yeah, that didn't have any of the, gods corrupting it, except for the giant pillar of rats, obviously.
Oh, rats making it into every city.
Yeah. That's what I think we're doing.
Yeah.
And
No matter how pure you keep it, London comes.
yeah, dude. Blimey.
Tuesday. Sorry for all the hate that I put out towards the English in general. It's not out of any hatred for the English people. It's more out of the love for that kind of joke.
One thing about my English brothers from across the big old lake, I will always respect English humor. I love dry humor, and I love how so many Americans will come to the UK and have no idea they're being made fun of. Just the way they choose, their mannerisms and their figures, in the turns of phrases, and just the irony humor, and just so many concepts that a lot of Americans just fly over their fucking heads, and that's just part of the course for them. I will always respect that. But the other end of that is, what you just said, man.
Yeah.
It's a begrudging respect for sure.
Lately, I've also been making fun of the French. That's been a lot of fun.
Oh, man, too easy.
America, for some reason, really likes to make fun of the French, despite the fact that...
Oldest allies.
I'm pretty sure that they've always been, at least, from their perspective, they've always been very cool to us.
We prepared the free world, they baked the free world, and then the world ate the free world.
Tony's 6th grade civics teacher really made an impact on him.
Yeah, he did. She did? Yeah.
But, oh my goodness. Australia, you guys got a lot of me making dumb jokes about you when I watched Fury Road.
I love...
As well as the new Furiosa, spectacular film.
Oh my god, it's such a good film. But one of my favorite things, a truism, if you will, Australia is just the Texas of the United Kingdom.
It's facts.
Yeah.
That's just how that works, man.
They live in a big hot desert.
Everything wants to kill you there.
They have a more hilarious version of the southern accent.
Yeah. It's these are some cosmic truths for Alicia.
They wear the cowboy hats too.
And with that, we're going to end today's episode. Thank you so much for listening. You guys got anything else going on?
Not right now, I don't think. But I'm always cooking something up. The Italians are going to get it also now, apparently.
Oh man,
That's fun.
Yeah. So speaking of Italians,
I'm American.
Good.
what do you think your odds of beating Elden Ring anytime soon?
I'm gonna do it. I don't know. Taking my time with it. Not worried about it.
That's good.
I'm
That's
almost
good.
done with the second Stormlight book. So that's we're looking
So much
at 70
I
hours.
was gonna say, dude, that's so much
you know,
fucking.
just
Yeah.
having that on as I go through the Land of Shadows.
Well, I await news of your triumph. And with that, have a good night.
Have a good night, everybody.
Good night.